Is love in the air, or is your relationship on the verge of destruction? Let's talk about it. Sit back,
relax,
and enjoy your favorite cocktail as we discuss relationships, dating,
sex,
and love. Love on the rocks, that is.
Love on the rocks. Love on the rocks. Love on the rocks. Love on the rocks.
Hello, everyone, and welcome.
Hi.
It's Love on the Rocks.
Hi.
And it's Roger and Megan here. Megan, you're in the garage today.
Listen,
Linda.
I got a lot of people at my house. I have a lot of people at my house. And I need peace. And I got to do my show. Because I was like, okay, I'm going to go out in hiding. I'm going to go out to the garage.
And
nobody will find me here.
And you're so dedicated to the show that you missed a major event today.
I missed my little sister's wedding.
Just for the show.
For the show.
You should have gone to your sister's wedding.
I'm that dedicated.
Oh, well, we love you too. All right, so let's bring on our relationship, and we got a jam-packed hour, so you guys don't want to go anywhere. We do. It's gonna be crazy. Okay, we're gonna talk sex. So, we've got Crystal and Lydia here.
Hi.
Hello, ladies.
Hi, ladies.
Hello. Missed you guys.
I miss y'all. Gosh.
Been a long extra week.
Notice how none of us said that to Roger.
Do what?
It was totally implied.
We all said we missed each other, but none of us said it to you.
I know. It's all right.
We all miss Roger all the time.
Yeah, all the time.
Yes, absolutely.
Did you really write that, Megan?
What?
Did you really write that?
Right.
Or did Roger put that up there?
I didn't. I just saw that. Has that been up there the whole time? Roger, you dick.
Love you, Meg.
Whatever. I love you. But yeah, it's gonna be a good show tonight.
We're talking sexual challenges, Dealbreaker, or Roadblock. So I have to say this, we had 3 guests on telling their stories, giving some advice. And we've all been in the situation, or maybe we haven't been in the situation, or maybe somebody has been in a situation where you are with somebody, but the sex compatibility is off.
Right.
All right. You're not in sync with each other.
Right.
Maybe it's a medical issue. Maybe who knows? It could be 1,000 different things. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
But if the sex between you and your partner isn't working, is it a deal breaker? Or is it just a temporary roadblock until you guys get it figured out? But
I think that depends on why it's not working.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I can't say that it would be a deal breaker. I feel like if you really care about the person, you can work through challenges and issues and, come to a better solution. Right. But there was some interesting data.
Yes. So I want to bring in our first guest. And she is a sexual victim. Okay. And not only is she a sexual victim, she's also a sex coach. We're going to talk about her story. Corey Woods, how are you doing? Welcome to the show. Corey, you are on mute.
What is going on?
Corey, you're on mute.
There it is. I had to find the button. The button was not.
I'm so taken back.
Couldn't find it.
Yeah, it's all good.
Hi.
All
Well,
right.
thank you.
Was that
Thank
done
you
on
for having me.
purpose?
No, I
Hi.
just couldn't find where the mute was in this format, but I'm good now. We're here.
Okay, we are here. So
My
Corey, let's talk
screen
about
just did something crazy, and I was like, "What is happening?" It didn't do that for y'all.
no.
Mm-mm.
All right, so Corey, let's talk about you for a second. Talk about your situation. You're currently now a sex coach, but you're a sex coach because of experiences that you've dealt with and that you were victimized sexually. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
As far as my story goes, I've had a close family member that was involved. I have family members that have a history of being sexual predators. I feel like I have this very unique situation that I've experienced. I also grew up in a high demand, high control religion where purity culture was taught, which like fed this idea that being a sexual person, like a sexual woman and having a high sex drive was like very much full of shame. You add the abuse into that piece to my story. You know, sex was considered not a good thing for a long time, and actually acting on it or experiencing it or exploring it just very much like hush hush, no.
And why do you feel like that happened?
What part?
What that sex was a no? Like, you know, it was had to be hush hush. Why did you feel like you couldn't enjoy it?
Well, the I don't think I did personally. There was something I think intuitively knew that this was a good thing, but I mean, if you add abuse, right? Any type of abuse that a woman experiences, we are conditioned to believe that our body is for men. So a lot of times we are looking at our sexuality through the lens of the male experience. What could I give to a man in order to then feel wanted, to feel desired, to feel needed? Not fully understanding how to take, like, we are in charge of our orgasms. We are in charge of our experience. And so, yeah, what's arrived here for me today as a sex coach, I feel like women are very underdeveloped in understanding this part of them, depending upon like the conditioning and their upbringing and everything in between.
Mm-hmm. So overall, you know, being a sex coach, what events led you to be who you are today?
Oh, I love that question. So I got married at 28. I waited till I was married to have sex. So when I talk about like the high demand, high control religion, like my worth was dependent on whether or not I gave it to a man. Like my virginity was something to be taken from, right? And all of us kind of have a little bit of that messaging, whether we grow up in religion or not. But when I got divorced, I'm a single mom of 5 kids. I divorced my husband, and I had this experience where I felt like my source or God was telling me, like, sex is actually very healing. It's a beautiful thing. And I didn't know what that meant. And I began this incredible journey to develop this part of me, because in my marriage, sex was great. And I tell everyone, great sex and the right amount of lies will keep anyone in a relationship too long, like 100%. And that was the only thing that was keeping our marriage together, because it was such a connective piece and it was great. And I only knew what I only knew. So, you know, 40-year-old Corey that gets divorced with 5 kids, only having one partner, had no idea what the hell I was doing. So I just began a journey of like understanding this part of me, because our sexuality as women, it's a part of the wholeness of us. So, and there we go. And now I am a sex coach.
So on a personal note, you
Yeah.
got divorced.
Yeah.
Obviously, you got to know your body, you got to know who
Right.
you are, and you explored with other partners. What have
Right.
you learned beyond your marriage about sex?
That it's absolutely fucking beautiful. And when shared, when approached with the intention of like not having any shame, you know, not having any, I had a lot of judgment on myself when I wanted to have sex outside of marriage. And again, that just comes from conditioning. I don't believe that now. Right. So a lot of the healing that took place in my life as a sexual woman took place in the bedroom. I wanted to be worshiped in the bedroom. And so I met a beautiful soul, and he met me right where I was at. And I was like, listen, I have to explore things. I want to see how I feel about things. And he held the most incredible space for me to kind of begin that journey for myself. And I feel like that was a huge blessing that the universe sent. Like, hey, here is this wonderful man, but outside of being in a relationship with a man, I also had to understand my sexuality and my body as an individual. And honestly, some of the best sex I've had in my life has been by myself. And I had to learn to explore my body in a committed partnership and alone.
So you're all about the orgasm.
100%. An orgasm a day is very healing for any woman's mental health.
So 1 orgasm a day, ladies, just so you know.
1 orgasm. Do you know what our bodies can do?
What?
Do you know what our bodies are capable of doing? I always say like 1 a day for sure, but I taught my body. I've woken up in the middle of the night with a full body orgasm, having done nothing to myself. Like our minds as women and what our bodies are capable of doing is phenomenal.
Wow. That's crazy.
It's fun.
You must have been having some great dreams.
I know, right? I was like,
what are you currently reading? Were you reading before you fell asleep?
I set the intention. I was like, I honestly want to just think about having an orgasm, and I want to see what my body can do. That was my whole intention. And it happened to be like in the middle of the night when it happened.
Well, I guess if it's ever going to happen, that's like the ideal time. If you're
that's the best time, I guess, it will happen.
Yeah, it was amazing. I have lots of goals now. Lots of orgasm goals.
Shit.
So tell us about your most amazing orgasmic experience.
That is hard to quantify because it happens a lot. So, giving it like, the best absolute experience. But I taught myself how to have 3-hour sex sessions and 5 orgasms in like 1 session. So that was pretty phenomenal. And one of the things that I encourage women all the time, like sometimes you just don't know what you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I heard that like women or men, like there are all these different things that we can teach ourselves how to do. And so when I say explore, I really mean it. Like challenge yourself. What does that mean? What does that look like? What needs to be in place, right? What needs to be in place in your life so that you can experience something.
Right.
And so that was a very intentional time. When the partner at the time, I said, it's 3 hours tonight. Let's see what we can do.
I got 3 hours to kill.
I don't even know what to say, but damn.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're the dominant one in the relationships.
I don't want to be, but I'm okay to be. Like,
Okay.
I think it's a give and take. It has to be.
So let's talk about with our topic here. Obviously, people have issues in their relationship.
Right.
Men can be impotent, right? Women have a hard time getting wet, right? So, and they're experiencing, and it may not be impotency. They just may they're not attracted to the partner they're with. So it takes them forever to rise to the occasion, so to speak. How does one couple work through these issues? Or is it like a done deal? It's over and done with.
There's not one right answer to that from my experience, and how I work with my clients. With men and their sexual health, sometimes like their hormonal imbalances, right? It all depends on what stage and what type of relationship that you're in. And because relationships are always going to pass through seasons. So in my own personal experience, having an incredible, because I'm only interested in having an incredible relationships, which requires sexual compatibility. Mm-hmm. See, I didn't know that when I first got married because he was my only partner. I only knew what I knew.
Right.
And so, in a dating dynamic, if you're 3 months in and sex sucks, why would you stay? That's a huge indicator. Like women's bodies, if we're not wet, that's an indicator of our relationship that we're in. Honestly, like
You're not turned on.
What?
You're not turned on.
No, not. I mean, yes, like you might want to be, but your body's telling you something. Your body is telling you something. And for us, like if women are going through perimenopause, which is a whole nother topic, there's going to be times in our cycle where we are just generally more dry because of our hormonal shifts, just in general. So, but the road that a woman has to walk in like this arena is she has to know her body. She has to know her body. Like, why am I not turned on by this man that I love? Do you trust him? Do you respect him? Do you trust and respect yourself? Like, what are you not asking for in the bedroom? What
So
are
it's like
you
more subconscious, probably.
Or maybe you're on a lot of medications.
Yeah. Oh yeah, girl. There's always health reasons involved. I definitely don't want to put it all on the partner. Like you could have, again, like I have 5 kids under 14. I'm exhausted as
Same.
you know, and but I'm okay. Like what I've noticed is even with the exhaustion is I have to honor myself through that. I have to honor myself through that. And if I'm trying to like give sex out of obligation in hopes that the man is happy, that's work I have to do on me. That's not his fault. That's not him.
Right.
That also doesn't sound like you're enjoying it at all.
Right.
It
Right.
sounds like work.
Yeah, it can be. It can be, but I'm very under the impression that like, okay, I should show you this book that I was reading, but it's about Taoism and it talks about women's sexuality and our health, and it teaches you how to do ovarian breathing techniques to where your pussy is literally always turned on. Like so I've practiced, right? I've practiced breathing techniques. I've practiced having conversations with my pussy. Like, I'm not kidding. And I can put myself, my goal with that was to put myself in situations where I am not turned on and fully be turned on internally as a woman. So again, exploration here.
So let me ask you, so you have ways for women to get turned on, and what can a man do if he's having difficulty getting turned on? Because we're talking about women getting turned on,
Right?
But what about the man?
I tell my male clients that there's no amount of skill set in the bedroom that will ever take away from the internal work that they have to do as a man. They're not getting turned on. Why? Are you not taking care of yourself? Are you not exercising? Are you not mentally taking care of your needs? Are you not showing up as the man in your life, like providing for your kids? Like if you have kids, some of it's mental, some of it is hormonal, some of it is emotional. But if he physically has a hard time having an erection, I mean, you have your testosterone checked. You start to look at like, okay, what are my physical, what am I physically experiencing? Okay, so are you depressed? Like, are you getting help? Are you going to therapy? You know, like that's what I mean by the internal work for a man that is like required of him to figure out. Or is it factors, right? Is there factors involved? Are you on substances? How much weed are you smoking? Those are just, that blocks testosterone. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if he's not getting turned on and he's attracted to his woman, that's internal work for him that he has to do.
That just means he's got to do a lot more foreplay.
Maybe. I mean, is he looking at porn? Like, that's another question.
And he's more turned on with the porn than he is with the partner.
Right. Does he feel safer being with someone who is not real? Right. Does he want the vulnerability? Does he want the intimacy? Does he want the closeness with his woman? You can be attracted to a woman, but your vulnerability, your walls can be up. You'll never be able to connect at a deeper level. You'll never be able to have orgasms without ejaculation as a man, which is a beautiful thing for men to learn. It's a skill set, though.
Yeah, you got to know where where their turn on is,
Yeah.
what part of their body excites them,
Right.
And if you learn your partner and you learn your partner's body, then you're going to have amazing sex.
Right.
You're in it, but if you don't know what turns your partner on, and it goes both ways, it's for the
It
guys,
does.
right?
Totally.
But in general speaking, partnership, if you don't know what turns your partner on, I think it's not necessarily going to be a roadblock. It's going to be a deal breaker, because I think sex in a relationship is very important. I mean, you can have the love, you can have the compatibility, you guys could have great, amazing conversations,
Right.
but you want the whole package. You want the intimacy. And I think
Right.
intimacy brings two people closer together. Megan, you agree?
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Crystal?
Of course.
100%.
Mm-hmm. So, Lydia, you have any questions?
I do not.
Okay.
I'm sorry. This is not what I expected tonight's topic to kind of go towards.
Also,
So I am caught off guard.
questions don't fit.
I was prepared for something else. I
Yeah.
am trying to redirect.
Mhm.
And I'm just having a little bit of difficulty. There were some things I agreed with, some things I didn't agree with, but that's that's with everything.
All right, let's go with the things you didn't agree with. What don't you agree with?
Now this is just for me personally. Like, obviously everybody, when things happen to them, they respond differently. I was molested by my father when I was 5, so I didn't take that as I need to please men. Like, that was not my reaction growing up from my experience.
Mhm.
I did tend to become sexually active early on in life. And I took it as I need to reclaim what was taken from me that I didn't get the chance to do on my own. And I, through research, I found that, especially women who are, sexually assaulted at a young age tend to be more hypersexual activity, so I feel like I went that route, but I went that route because I was doing it for myself,
Mhm.
so I felt like I was completely different from what you had said, but everybody is different and responds to their traumas differently. So hearing that just completely threw me off my game tonight. So I apologize.
It's all right. And that's a great thing about this show is that we're live uncensored, and this show can go in so many different directions once we go live. So, with all respect to you, Lydia, I mean, that's just, that's why our show is so amazing, is because you just don't know what to expect. So
I was a little thrown off too. I'm not gonna lie.
I was definitely
Like,
thrown
I
off.
got some data, not about anything we're talking about at the moment.
I was ready to talk about like medications that will help you get there if you're struggling.
I got
if
numbers
you're
about all
not,
that stuff.
but I mean, I think it's great that it opened a new line of information that I wasn't expecting.
So Corey, your take on all this? I know you got to run here soon. So.
No, I just want to acknowledge like the vulnerability of it all, because like your experience and what you took with it has been your journey. Like, I would never take that. I'm like such a weird case. Full disclosure. Like, I knew my story. When you asked me to explain a little bit about my sexual abuse, I'm like, and how it relates and all the things. I knew not to go necessarily down that road because it is such a sensitive topic, and how women respond, right?
Mhm.
And how women and their journey to come home to themselves. And I love that you mentioned like you reclaimed it in a different way. It took me 40 years to reclaim it, girl. Like 40 fucking years. And I look at you and I'm like, go you. Like, not all women have that capacity to be able to do that from what it sounds like in the way that you did.
I
So
feel like
thank
I did
you.
it in the most healthy way, but
Well, I mean, how would you know if you didn't know, you know?
yeah.
I'm very careful because I don't really judge women's experiences. I feel like the world judges us enough for how
Oh
we
yeah,
handle.
no. I'm the first to say, oh, I don't kink shame. It's 2024. Everybody has the things they're into, and that's as
Yeah.
long as you're not breaking the law, dude, go for it. There's like
Yeah.
so many amazing things out there for people to try and learn.
Yeah.
You know,
Lydia, you just reminded me. I have a little bit of information I've been waiting to tell you guys, but I'm going to wait to the end before we're
Okay.
done to give you that little tidbit of info I told you guys I've been holding on to for a while now.
Right.
That I just wanted to see your faces when it processed.
Yes.
I'm so excited.
So, Corey, I know that you have another appointment to jump in. I appreciate you taking some time and joining us. You had some very amazing words. So great words. You definitely
Thank you.
I mean that in a way that it's just like I know it threw some of us off. On
I'm
the
gonna be really
direction of the show.
disappointed when I wake up in the middle of the night tonight. I'll tell you that.
Girl, let's keep talking. I'll share this whole breathing thing that Roger,
Sorry,
but
Roger.
I
I didn't mean to cut you off. I just had to.
no, thank you very much for letting me be here. I do. I
Yes.
have my appointment. I coach high school soccer, so I have to go.
Fun. Okay. Well, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Yes, thank you. I
you.
can't wait to listen
Enjoyed
to the
it.
rest of it. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Yes.
All right, Corey, take care. So the show goes different directions apparently, but
was fun.
but it was. I mean, it was interesting conversations about sometimes women rather please themselves instead of being with a partner.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
I think a lot of times that's the only way they can, or it's the first way, or the only way they know how,
Mm-hmm.
because they haven't done enough exploring yet.
Right.
Because the numbers say women can actually reach climax more often by themselves. That comes in up at the top, with other women and then with men.
Yeah.
So they have the highest success rate with themselves.
All right. So we're gonna go down under, and I don't mean that in a innuendo type of way. But we're gonna go to Australia right now with our next guest. Please welcome Savannah Selleck. Hello, Savannah.
Yeah.
Hi, Roger. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Hi.
Yes.
Great. Thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure. It's been very interesting so far.
Yes.
There's never a dull moment on our show.
Never.
No. So, Savannah, I mean, you're a relationship coach, and I know that you probably dealt with couples that have had sexual challenges or
All of them.
issues. And tell us your experiences with these people.
Yeah. So when couples come to me, it's usually because it's either flat or they're about to break up. They're considering breaking up. Not because they don't love each other anymore, but because they just can't seem to be happy together. And the sex part is, of course, a big part of it. And there are two types of couples that come to me. One is they are stuck in the friendship zone, where then, the sex life is very flat or non-existent, even though they get along really well. Or then they are in the enemies archetype, as I call it, where they fight a lot, and it can be either a roller coaster where there are periods of peace, and then there is a conflict, or there is conflict like all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And in this case, also, sex is usually very sporadic and not fulfilling. So then the part that I work with is very much mental. So, of course, we're going to explore, is there anything magical going on? You're going to go and have you checked. But from my personal experience with my clients, more often than not, it's not really related to anything physical, it's mental. And so what I really teach them is that after your relationship has settled into the long-term phase, because we've got like 4 phases in relationship, and the first phases, they are all more hormonal driven. But then once you settle into the long-term phase, that it's way more driven by your brain. So your brain is your biggest sexual organ. That's what I start teaching them. And I start teaching them to disconnect from this idea that if you love each other and if you want to be together, then you should naturally just want to have sex regularly. And that it's a function of your body. And if you're healthy and love each other, then your body is just going to be aroused by each other naturally, because it's not really how it happens. It's what we think about each other, is the state of the relationship, is what we think of ourselves, and how much I believe my partner values me or is attracted to me or is considering my needs. That's going to create the bulk of what creates the sexual attraction. So, and if you have questions about what I'm saying, like, please feel free to interrupt me, because then otherwise I'll just go like talk.
You're perfectly
Listen
fine.
to your
No, you're
accent
good.
all day.
Thank
all
you.
day, all night.
He's like,
You are good.
Thank you.
I'm in
So
awe right now.
yeah.
here is what I teach them, is that what creates love and what creates passion is very different, right? So what creates love is compatibility, is it's sameness, is common goals, is common values, right? Is it admiration? And that creates like the bond, right? But what creates passion starts with what is different, what is exciting, and what's opposite, what's polar. But also it is what you think of each other. So I teach them that passion has a 3-ingredient recipe. And then if you're missing one of those 3 ingredients, it's very unlikely that sex is going to be happening or fulfilling. And it's in a way that it's not like you should have 3, is that you have to have the 3 present for it to be really fulfilling. So the 3 ingredients are desire, attraction, and arousal. And a lot of people think that they're sort of different words for the same thing, but they are not. So when you understand that if you have one of those missing, then the other 2 kind of fall flat, and that most couples actually don't have any of the 3 in place once they are in that 4th stage, then starts making sense why their sex life is completely dead. And once you bring those ingredients back, then it's easy to reignite the fire and take it to that next level. So to me, in my opinion, it's not a deal breaker. It's a work in progress, because if you don't know what you don't know, you can't improve on it. And if you're working with myths from what we learn from society and we're conditioned to believe, then we are led astray and we're working on things that don't really matter. So once you start working on the things that actually move the needle, then things are going to really move in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
And so in my opinion, the only thing, and now we are fully disclosing that is if there isn't anything medical, physical, something that it needs to be dealt with. If it's purely really in the sexual organ of the brain, right? Then the only thing that becomes a deal breaker is if you're not willing to grow. If you're not willing to get educated on desire, attraction, and arousal, and then work on it and improve your skills, right? If you only want to stay in your comfort zone, and not really be challenged, because in sexuality there are a lot of things that are going to challenge our identity, our self-image, our self-worth. And if you're not willing to, then that might become a deal breaker.
So what would you say in a situation like, for example, let's just say medical conditions, the guy is permanently impotent, no medical can fix that? Is it over? Or do you guys get creative to try to figure out how?
Yeah, that really depends on what are the standards of that partner, right? And if they both agree that they can get creative and that there is so much that can be explored, because that's another myth, right? The myth that sex is penetration to reach an orgasm. And it's not. That's part of it. And that's one little element of it. And of course, yeah, the orgasm is a big part of it for most people. But sex is not just about that. And there is so much that you can do without penetration. And when you think about, well, being able to reach orgasm mostly for women on their own with the data, right? And then with another woman, then you can see how little penetration has the impact, like with another person, of course, because you've got toys, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when we start realizing that, well, that doesn't have to be a deal breaker, and that will not have such an impact on the self-esteem of the guy, right? Because when men think that, well, this is all I bring to the party and I can't bring that one to the party, then I have no worth as a lover.
Mm-hmm.
And that, now you're stuck in your head, right?
Right.
Now you have nothing to bring because that's what you believe. But look, if you still have fingers, if you still have a tongue, if you still have the rest of your body, there is plenty you can do.
Yes.
Right. And I've got a client that has a medical issue, and that's what we've been talking in the past 2 weeks. And it was like, wow, I had never thought about it from that angle. It was like, well, hello.
Mm-hmm.
And when we look from the perspective that, so I didn't get into the details of what create each of the ingredients, but when we talk about arousal, there is another myth, is that we think that what creates arousal in one person is the same for everybody else. So the couple things, what makes me horny, what makes me aroused and in the mood and excited, then will necessarily do the same with my partner. So if I'm trying those things and it's not working, then it must mean that they don't love me anymore, they're not attracted to me, and then there is something wrong. And usually that's not the case. Usually then what's going on is that you have different erotic languages. These days, everybody's familiar with the love languages, but nobody talks about there are different erotic languages as well. There are different ways of feeling aroused. And most people believe that the standard, stereotyped, look at porn, look at the body, think about sex, think about the act, and that's enough. And for a huge portion of the population, and especially the female population, that's not the case. We need a lot more of environment, right? We need a mood, and it's a slower build up, and we need different types of touches. And for some people, they need the emotional connection first. And for some people, they need meaning behind the sexual interaction. So there's so many things. And once you start understanding, and that's what you're talking about, Roger, if you know what turns your partner on, then you have a chance. If you don't, you're dead.
Yeah. Let's change gears for 1 second, because we talk a lot about the medical. We're talking a lot about, how man and woman, or, woman and woman and man are individually together. But say you have a partner who has a fantasy, wants multiple people in the relationship, wants to have sex with multiple people, but you got the partner that just wants to be monogamous. So how do you, is that a deal breaker?
But let's have a look at what is the reason for wanting the multiple partners. Is it a fantasy, and is it the idea of it that makes it exciting? And if that is, there is so many ways that the couple can play with it, right? And there is word games, and there is talking about the scene and imagining, and it's the forbiddenness of it, which is one of the languages, right? It's the forbidden language. It's talking about the taboos and all the things that are like, I shouldn't want to, but then they really create that excitement. Is that it? Or is it really the desire of being with multiple people at the same time? And if that is it, why? Is it because it's not fulfilling with your partner? Is it because you have not explored enough? Is it because the polarity is off, so the chemistry is off? What is the cause for these different desires? So first you need to understand that. So once you understand that, then you can see if there is anything that you can do about to bring compatibility to the table. But at the end of the day, if you really want to be with multiple partners and the other one wants to be only with one partner, maybe there isn't really alignment in there. And
that's more of a difference in values, I think, than sexual compatibility.
Yeah, exactly. And there is, at least here in my region, I'm next Byron Bay, and then the polyamory is a big topic now, where everybody's going to the, oh, we're not really meant to be monogamous, and we
I
are
don't think we
polyamorous.
are.
But here's the thing: polyamory involves love. Amor comes from love, the Latin. Polyamory is loving more than one person at once, and then having a relationship with multiple people or more than one. Right? But what's happening here, at least in my region, is that they're just not sexually happy with their partner that they love. And instead of then working through it, they say, oh, we are polyamorous. So they want to go and have sex with multiple people, which is not polyamory.
I got you.
No, I understand that.
Yeah.
I have a lot of, like I know like a lot of swingers, so to me, it's just another way to explore your sexuality. Like you still can love your partner, but want to explore other things with other people. But that's just, I don't know. That's how I look at it.
Yeah. And there is no right or wrong. There is just the thing is that, are you both on the same values, right? And do you have also a good sex life with your partner and you want to explore with other people? Or you don't have a good sex life with your partner, and because of that, you feel like you have to explore with other people, so then you have good sex, but still keep the person that you love. So those are always questions. What is behind? With my clients, I work a lot about the why. What is the reason behind what you think you want? Let's understand that first, and then we'll go to the action. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So do you think couples have, when there are, problems with their sex life, do you see more common that they're willing to work through it, or do you feel like people give up too easily?
Look, there is a huge resistance to work through it because it's so related to our self-image and to our self-worth, right?
Mm-hmm.
We get stuck in our head so much about, am I good enough? Am I a good lover? Am I loved? Is there something wrong with me? And if I just put it all, it's my partner the problem, then I don't have to deal with that and do the inner work, right? That she was talking about before. We all have to do the inner work. There is no good sex life without doing the inner work.
Mm-hmm.
It is the path. We have to get out of our comfort zones and see what it is, the stories in our heads that keep telling ourselves that, like, I can't explore this, or like, if I do this, then I'm a slut, or a this or a that, and I'm not having self-worth, or I'm not this type of woman, or not this type of man. And if you're willing to look inside and do the inner work, then there is a path. But if you're not, then, and it varies, it really varies. There is no right or wrong as well, because there is a timing, right? Everyone has their own time to be able to deal with their baggage, with their trauma, with their stories, we all have them. It's like not only the people that got their choice stolen from them early, which is dreadful, but even us, the ones who didn't, we still make stuff in our head. We still have self-worth issues, and that always plays up in the bedroom, right?
Mm-hmm.
The ability to be able to express my fantasies, or what I really want, or what I like and don't like. Oh, but I'm going to be judged. Oh, but what is he going to think? Oh, but I'm going to lose the love. Oh, and then we get stopped, and then we get unhappy. And until we're willing to actually talk about it, like 100% of my couples hadn't talked enough about their sexual life, haven't even explored.
You think they're more afraid to talk about it?
Pardon?
You think a lot of them are afraid to talk to each other about it?
Yeah, it's taboo. It's
Yeah, 'cause
just there is so much fear of rejection and
Mhm.
judgment. And it's just this unrealistic expectation that it should just come naturally and you should just know and you shouldn't have to learn. And just relationship and intimacy is just like everything else that us as human beings have in life. We come to earth knowing nothing other than like crying, pooping, and asking for and swallowing, right? Everything else we have to learn. But somehow we expected that we should know relationships and that we should know intimacy and it should just flow magically. And then we get so disappointed because it's not like that. There is so much that we need to learn.
Though I think a lot of the disappointment comes from, I don't want to say like a lack of education on it, but yeah, a lack of education on it.
Yeah.
You know, like how many women don't even know their own bodies until they're much older, because you're not taught about your own body, or you're not taught that your body is, you know, something for pleasure as well. It's merely functional or to serve somebody else. For a lot of people, you know, are taught that growing up or feel that way growing up. Like we were talking about purity culture earlier in the show, but there are a lot of people that do experience sexual dysfunction of some sort, and I think acknowledging that is important because everybody's like afraid to say something, but the numbers don't lie, because when people are anonymous and admit to it, numbers for different studies were all over the place, but obviously the numbers get higher the older the respondents are. So the older you are, more likely there is to be dysfunction. But 43% of women, 31% of men on average report experiencing some degree of sexual issues. And with men, the main issue was erectile or ejaculatory issues, and with women it was arousal or orgasmic dysfunction. So some numbers for you guys.
Okay.
Yeah, but here's the thing, both arousal and orgasm are heavily influenced by the mind, right?
Yeah.
Just like she was saying, she can just think and have an orgasm. Of course, you got to develop yourself to that point, but also in the bedroom and during the sexual interaction, right? What is going on through your head affects what your body is doing, right? Our brain informs the systems that produce hormones or not. So if you're thinking like, he doesn't value me, he's not attractive to me, he's just horny and I'm a piece of meat for him, he just wants me to, satisfy, I'm not going to be wet. It's not going to happen, right?
Yeah.
And if the guy is thinking something similar or is in his head, well, like, I don't know how to please her, I'm too fat, or is she having an affair? Whatever is the range of stories that's going on in there, it's going to be harder to get up and stay up. It's not limited to that. Of course, there is age, there is medical issues, there is illnesses, there is remedies, there is drugs, there's a whole range of things, right? But if you explored all of that and that's all checked, then you're going to look in here, because a good portion of those numbers, I believe, right, are because we are not educated, because we are not aware that the voice in our heads is actually interfering with our sexuality.
Let me ask you a question here. You have a couple and there's infidelity in the relationship. A lot of times you see that after the infidelity is over, that there's the couple's sexual chemistry is a lot stronger. And sometimes it can go south, but you do find, is it like kind of like a wake-up call, kind of like, or is it like a desperation to hang on to that person and not want to let them go, so they're going to make themselves more?
It depends. So it depends what is the ingredient that changed after the infidelity, right? Is it the desire? So is it the associations? Is it like, well, yes, what I'm thinking about, like, well, now there is competition, and if I don't do something about it, then I'm going to end up alone. So now I have to create a whole bunch of reframe, and I have been taking this person for granted for so long, and now I'm not anymore, right? So then the way that I think about this person is, wow, this person's precious to me, and I actually I desire this person. I want to keep that person. So that is desire back. Or is it because polarity is back, the attraction is back? It's because, well, now there is competition and there is, so let's say I'm a woman and now there is another woman there in the picture, feminine, and then my man's getting all masculine with her. So now there's like, well, if I tap into my femininity and if my guy actually learned from that experience how to welcome his masculine and be that with me, now there is polarity that wasn't there before. So now the attraction is back. So it really depends what it is that has switched. But the thing is, has trust been reestablished? Or is it really just a physical, desperate way of trying to make it work because we all so attached, well, with sex, great, then he's going to stay or she's going to stay? Is it really a lasting change, or is just a temporary boost out of a forced connection to try to make
fear
it
of
work?
losing the person, right? So
Yeah.
you're like, your fear that person's going to bail on you. They're going to go to this other person. So you know what? I'm going to make myself available more. I'm going to do things that turn them on more, because couples get so comfortable with their partner that they just like, oh, we only have sex maybe once a week or a couple times a month. The honeymoon is over, right? So, and then all of a sudden, they're not communicating properly. And then all of a sudden one goes astray, and and all of a sudden don't want to lose this person. So it's like a wake-up call. Hello, maybe I need to put more into it. Maybe I I didn't really understand that they have more needs that I need to be able to provide. I mean, do you agree with that?
I don't agree that that's should be the automatic reaction, right? Because if the needs are not being met, then just going behind, if there is an agreement that this is a monogamous, exclusive relationship, then, and if you're not getting your needs met, then you work together, right? You talk about, well, my needs are not being met. Let's do something about it. Maybe we need help. Maybe we need to get ourselves educated. Maybe we'll try things. But going behind the back, then you broke the partnership. You just taking care of yourself, right?
And I'm not saying that that's acceptable. I'm just saying is that you'll find that couples that are in that situation, they're so busy with life, they don't even think about having sex with their partner. And then one goes astray and comes back, and the other one's
I don't
like
find
fighting.
that is usually busyness is like they tell themselves they are just busy, but if they don't have desire for each other and attraction, that's because the ingredients are missing, right? So here's the thing. Desire is not, we talk a lot about incompatibility. One likes it 5 times a week and like the other one's happy once a fortnight, right? But desire is not a fixed thing. Desire is just a place on the scale where you are there because in your brain, if you are 5 times a week, for example, your brain thinks this is a good thing. We're happy. We get pleasure. I love it. Let's do a lot of it, right? When you're in a once a fortnight, it's like, yeah, it's a chore. I don't enjoy it. My partner has no clue what he's doing or she's doing. It's not a pleasant experience. I'm going to avoid it for as long as I can. Now, can you bring someone from wanting once a fortnight to 5 times a week? Absolutely. Right? Absolutely. You need to make it a good experience. And for that, then you need to work on learning erotic languages, and you need to learn of like, how can the dynamic and the polarity be present? Well, if my partner is not being the masculine, taking me, throwing me on the wall, and ravishing me as I want. Yeah, I don't want to have the, quickie 5 days a week. Don't want that. Not meeting my needs. So I say no. Right?
So a bit of information for you guys real quick, because we're talking about couples that are not having sex. So in the United States, about 7% of married adults haven't had sex in the past year. That's of married couples. So 7%. And then 4% haven't had sex in 5 years.
Really?
Yes.
That long?
That long. Only 4% though.
Okay.
So, and isn't it fascinating that they're still together? talk about settling for less and for being miserable, because the pain of breaking up is worse than the pain of being in a miserable relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Or the pain of working through it and getting help and doing something about it. It's all about like, what is more painful? Is it stay like this? Is it do something about it? Or is it break up?
So, of the 3 ingredients, which one would you say you see couples missing the most, that they need to work on the most?
All of them? Nowadays, there is a lot of the polarity, right? The balance between the masculine and the feminine is so off, because we are both conditioned to operate in our reverse polarity. So for us women, we are so conditioned to be independent, to be productive, to prove our worth, to be driven, to be focused, to be successful, to be all those things in order to feel valued as much as men, right? But instead of being valued for our femininity and for all of the beautiful qualities of the feminine, we have to be equals in the sense of we have to be masculine to be valued and to feel successful. While on the other hand, men are bashed for being masculine. And I'm not saying there isn't a very, very unhealthy, toxic masculinity pattern out there. There is plenty. But that is not the true essence of the masculine. The true essence of the masculine is that the protector, is the provider, is the God, is the warrior that protects the tribe and the women, and the children and everyone. He is the honorable warrior. And that is very healthy and very wanted and needed by the feminine. But when they say that they are controlling, narcissistic, and bad for being in their masculine, all they have left is to be in the feminine, right? To be people pleasing, happy wife, happy life, to try to be good, the good boy. And then they don't understand why the women are still not happy, but I'm doing all the right things.
Yeah.
And that's when the polarity is off. And then I'm sorry, but like all the couples I see, all of them are in reverse polarity. It's like epidemic, right? And it's very hard for both to go back, for men to step and embrace. I have so many clients that feel like it's so wrong to be masculine and strong. Men's are pigs, I cannot, it's wrong. I have whole practices of the honorable warriors, like war, it's bad, it's violence. No, it's the positive aggression, of the protector, of the hunter, of the one who provides. So there is and that's inner work again. It's the inner work. Right. And for us women, I don't want to let go of my masculine. It's the thing that gives me value in society. It's the one that gets things done, that makes me productive and successful. I don't want to give up. You don't need to give up. You can keep borrowing from those. Right. So men can borrow from the feminine. That's why we both have both energies. So you can borrow from it where it's necessary and where it's helpful and where it's adequate. And then you go back to your nature. Right, to where you should spend most of your time. So does that make sense?
It does. Savannah Selleck, I really appreciate you taking some time. I think we've learned a lot. Definitely has opened up and opened the horizons a little bit, and just kind of understanding, what when you're in a relationship with somebody, what you really need to focus on, right, to work with that partner.
Right.
Yeah. Desire, attraction, arousal, get those back, guys. Things are going to be much more flamey. I guarantee. It was a pleasure being here. Thank you so much for inviting me. I love it.
It was so nice having you on.
It was great meeting you.
Megan's lost in your voice. That's all.
I'm just in awe. I love it. I could hear you talk all day and night.
Oh, lovely, because I can talk all day and night too. Maybe let's just be friends.
Savannah, we'll have to have you on again.
Yeah, my pleasure. I loved it. I wasn't sure how this was going to go, and I loved it so much. So yes,
it went so good.
Yes,
and I can talk about relationships for like a whole week nonstop. So
sounds good.
You're in the right place.
All righty, Savannah. Thank you. Thanks again. So we're talking sexual challenges, deal breaker, or is it a roadblock? Let me ask my co-hosts here. Megan, what's your thoughts on the topic?
I think it definitely what is that roadblock? I'm so flabbergasted over the first segment. I'm not even gonna lie.
And we still have one more guest,
And we do.
which I feel so
Oh, I
bad
thought
that
we were
she's
about to
just
wrap
in the
up.
green room.
What, Megan?
I thought we were about to wrap up.
No.
We still have
Oh,
one more.
I'll share my opinion at the end.
Okay. From Mexico, Virio Carvonen. Hopefully I didn't botch your name up.
Thank you
It's
for being
okay.
patient.
Hi.
No worries. In Mexico, but Canadian, from Canada. And I'm just, I am here enjoying the warmer weather right now. So, yeah, a pleasure to be here. I loved hearing the conversations with Carrie and Savannah and all of your questions. And yeah, it's amazing. Wonderful to be here.
So what is your take on this conversation, this topic? And I know you've listened to everybody. Everybody's kind of ping-ponged a little bit, but where's your stand when it comes to issues in relationships when it comes to the sexuality?
Yeah, one, I think it's complicated and it's messy, right? Think of birth is messy, death is messy, and sex is messy, right? We're all here because of sex. So
If
I
you're
think,
doing it right.
the big thing just to be aware is that it's really triggering for a lot of people. So if anybody's listening to it and you are someone, which there are many that have been sexually assaulted, then take care of yourself too, because it can be really triggering. So just an awareness of that. So if anybody's listening, it is triggering. You're not alone. That's pretty common. I think, yeah, a lot of things that what Carrie talked about. I liked some of her wording. The purity culture. Even if people aren't aware, our beliefs come to us when we're in utero to 7 years old. And I think a lot of them are when my one teacher says is the issues are in our tissues, right? So a lot of it, we're not even aware of the unconscious beliefs and the shame that we carry around sexuality. I think one of the biggest things, and Savannah referred to it too, right, is that it's a brain thing. And most of it is shame. It's because we carry shame. We carry body shame. I've been working with women first with Kundalini dance, an ecstatic form of dance, and then the last 7 years specifically around sexuality. And I was shocked. You were, I think I can't remember all of your, I know Lydia was sharing, and I'm trying to remember the beautiful woman in the blonde. I don't remember your name, but you were sharing some stats. And one of the stats,
Crystal.
say it again.
Crystal.
Thank you, Crystal.
Roger, where are our
I was
names?
trying to remember everybody's names. I don't see your names. There they are. Thank you. That is so helpful to me. Thanks, Crystal. So
Really
one of the big things is that I was reading some stats recently. 91% of women, 91% of women are unhappy with their bodies. That's like 74% of men are unhappy with their bodies. And so I think that's the biggest part of the roadblock is if we're not happy with our bodies. Like I work with women. There's one woman recently, and she just did a whole video on it. And she came, no pun intended, but pun taken. When she came to work with me, the first time she actually was there for a Kundalini dance session, she literally ran out of my session because she was so uncomfortable in her body. Like just, we're talking clothed. She's uncomfortable around other women. So she left, and then she came back and she said, I really need to work with you. She started working with me. And one of the first things we did was some shame busting. And
what is shame busting?
Shame busting is a tool that I use with women to transform the beliefs that are in their head. So, and shame seems to be the biggest block. And so dissolving the beliefs that, like I said, they come to us in utero to 7 years old. And most people, if somebody thinks they don't have shame, I would say 99.99% people have had or have some form of body shame or shame around sexuality or to talk about it, which is hugely problematic because another stat, 50% of marriages are ending in divorce, 65 of second marriages are ending in divorce. Well, the number 6 reason is lack of intimacy. The number 3 is lack of communication. The number 1 is infidelity, which you've already talked about. But if we don't dissolve the shame, if we don't feel free to talk about our forbidden desires, if we don't feel comfortable in our own skin, if we don't know our own anatomy and we're too ashamed to explore our own anatomy or learn about it, then those are the roadblocks. So the roadblocks, yeah, they're in the way, but they're big, right? We have to have a willingness, like Savannah talked about. We have to have the desire to do something about it, right? And that's usually the biggest thing. Is shame is what stops people from even getting started.
I know I'm struggling lately with body image. Over the past 2 years, I have lost 110 pounds. So for me, I'm just like, I'm disgusting. My skin is just hanging. And I had talked to another friend of mine who had lost like a large amount of weight. And she gave me the analogy. She was like, when I bend over, she was like, I feel like a cow because everything is just like hanging. And I'm like, if I don't want to see that, why would anybody else want to see that? So it's, it's a struggle.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Lydia. And you're not alone. I would say every single woman that has come to me has had some form of struggle around body image, even women that are like highly educated, highly successful women. And I think one of you talked about that earlier was, or maybe it was somebody I had a conversation with earlier today. It's been a very full day. Was this, oh, it was one of my clients. She was talking about, she even has somebody who's like a bodybuilder and instructor, and they too were not happy with their bodies. So we're inundated in the Western world in particular with so many images and propaganda and things that tell us that our bodies are too this or not enough of that, or we need to lift this up, tuck this in to be good enough. And I mean, the industry's profit if we actually don't like our bodies, if we're not comfortable in our own skin. But what you're saying, Lydia, is not uncommon. And I don't know if I finished the story of Cassie, who was in our pleasure program. In the end, her body was still the same, really, but what changed was her ability to love her body, to accept her body, not wait for her body to change or lose weight or whatever. And she came to a place doing our pleasure practices and doing the shame busting, and that I talked about, the shame busting tool I use. And she was able to, now she's also a mom, and she's like, what did she want to pass on to her daughters, right? What does she want her daughters to believe about their bodies? So she's now able, after being in our pleasure program for the last year, she's able to not only be comfortable in her own skin, but she said that she's actually able to be naked in front of the mirror and talk kindly to her body and see her body as beautiful. And now she's able to have the lights on with her lover and with her partner.
I
and
could
she's
never do
and
that.
she's
It's
okay
not
with
funny.
that.
I don't mean to laugh, but I could never do that.
You can never stand in front of a mirror, Megan?
No, I can't.
Naked? Absolutely not.
But I'm not going to stand in front of a mirror and be okay. And no, that's comical to me. That is my life. That is how I deal with it. It is comical to me. I would never. Just not okay with it.
And unfortunately, that's what most women feel like. They're not comfortable to look at themselves buck naked in front of the mirror. And that's one of the gifts that I do want to offer at the end and give that to you, Megan, and anybody who's listening, is I have a shame busting tool. I have put it together because I had shame around my body too. And I'm now 62 years young. I feel and look younger today than I did at 40. And I was not comfortable after I had 2 sons to wear a bathing suit, to wear a bikini. My body was different than before children. And I'm happy to say now that I wear a bikini and I'm comfortable in my own skin. I don't care so much what everybody else thinks. And I am able to look at it and feel beautiful. And that's one of the things that I support the women in our pleasure program is, I would say every single woman who's come out of it has come to a place of being able to love and accept her body as it is, and actually look at her body naked and stand in front of the mirror and have kind things
Just
that
could
come to her
never.
thoughts.
Nope.
Well, I will say, as a guy here, I'm not, muscular or skinny. I got a dad bod, right? And so I was seeing this one girl and we're in the bedroom and she's like, I'm physically attracted to you. And I'm going, why? I have a dad bod. How is that physically attracting? And to me personally, I have low self-esteem when it comes to that. I always had weight issues and I've lost 50 pounds this year already. So, but I'm not where I want to be yet, but it's like, I look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, is that what people look at me? How can somebody tell me they think I'm physically attracted? Because I don't think I'm physically attracted.
Mm-mm.
It's a
We're always
struggle.
Yeah, and that's
on
not
the screen.
uncommon. Men in the stats. So I would say 91% of women are unhappy with their body. Well, it's 74% with men. So that's still really high, right?
Mhm.
That even men don't like their bodies. And again, it's what Savannah was talking about. It's here, right? It's the beliefs in our mind. So Cassie was in my program and other women, their body didn't necessarily change, but what changed was their self-talk. So instead of going to negative self-talk, I support them in training their subconscious mind to go from the negative self-talk to maybe they don't see their body instantly as beautiful, but to start to accept and love their body. And it might start with loving a certain part of your body because it gives you, you've got your hands and you've got the ability to hug and touch the people you love, or you can drive your car, or it will start with simple things, but gradually towards seeing your body as healthy and sacred and perhaps one day as beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Well, whoever wants to donate to the Lydia Manson Plastic Surgery Fund so I can feel better about my body, you are free to do so.
Lydia, you are beautiful. You really are.
I'm like, I look at, the apron stomach and I'm just like, this is disgusting. And I won't get that. I can't get it out of my head.
One thing
So
I've
here's the
realized.
thing.
Go ahead.
See, here's the thing. The biggest thing is the things that we say to ourselves that are not kind. Would we say that to our friend? Hopefully, we wouldn't say it to a friend and they'd stick around, right? It's like, how can we talk to ourselves the way we would want to talk to a friend, right? We're with the reality is with each of us are with ourselves and our bodies 24/7. And it's sad, right? And so I'm here to advocate for every one of you and every one of you listening that my desire for each of you is that you find a place where your self-talk is at least kinder, right? That we can talk kinder to ourselves, because it matters. We're with ourselves all day, and that impacts our sexuality more than anything, how we talk to ourselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then and the thing is too is if we talk kinder to ourselves, if I have more compassion for myself and Lydia, you have more compassion for your body, then you're probably more likely to give that same compassion to other people. But if we can't give it to ourselves, we can't give that degree of love and compassion and body acceptance to others as well. It actually has to start here, right? And so it's yeah, it makes me sad. And I used to be one too, that how I talked to myself about my body wasn't kind either. And so when we start to shift how we talk to our body, how we see our body changes then as well, right? And you can be, and we can apologize to our body. One of the things I do with women is the Ho'oponopono practice. The Ho'oponopono comes from Hawaiian culture, and it's about, telling your body, I love you. And it might be, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for all the times I criticized you. Please forgive me that I didn't take care of you. And this happened. And thank you. And you do it till you clean your consciousness and start to talk kindly to this body, because this is the temple that we've been given to live in, right? And so to be able to see it as at least something that is our temple for this lifetime. And maybe you're not ready, Lydia, or anybody listening, to see your body as beautiful, but what if you could see it as in a kind way and see it as sacred, right? And that and see it through different eyes. I mean, imagine, you know, those listening, and I don't know if you're a mom, Lydia, or if you have kids, but how do we want our children to see? And they're watching, they're listening to us, right? So if I don't talk kindly to my body, and especially mothers with daughters and men with sons, and probably both ways as well, then they're watching us, they're listening to us, right? And we just keep perpetuating that culture that says, you know, my body's not good enough, it's ugly, I'm not going to love it until I lose the weight, or until I lose the sagginess, or until this happens, or all these things, right? And it's, I don't know, it just perpetuates it. And then it goes back to the original topic that you know brought to the table about sexuality, and our sexuality is deeply, deeply impacted by how we think about our bodies. And if we can have love and compassion for our own bodies, then we can let go of the fear of judgment, hopefully. And that's one of the things I help women to do. And then it's safe to bring our forbidden pleasures to our partner, and without judgment, right? That we won't be afraid they're going to ridicule us or humiliate us because we have that desire. It doesn't mean we're going to go chase that desire, but what if our partner would be willing to at least talk about it, right? The communication, the number 3 reason that relationships end, is it's so important that we be able and willing to create a safe space that our partner could talk about it, whatever that is. And it could be body image, right? We start with body image, like, God, I don't even want to turn the lights on, right? Please. Like, and then what if we could talk about that with our partner? And then they also share, oh God, I'm worried that this might be too big or not big enough, or this is too small, or this is hanging too this way, right?
I think too, part of why changing the self-talk is so difficult, well, I don't know why, a reason why I can see it being so difficult is because, I don't know, at least for women, like if you're proud of yourself or confident in your body, like that's also a bad thing. Like you can't be too confident. You got to be just humble enough. So like you don't want to always overdo it. But I think that we're so conditioned to dislike ourselves that like the little bit that we can give ourselves is okay, ladies. Like it's not too much, I promise.
You know,
Yeah,
I know
there's
as
so
a,
much fear of judgment. Go ahead, Roger.
so as a, you know, we're, you know, a lot of us are we get older, right? It's a fact of life. We get older. We're not 20 anymore. We don't look like we did back in the day, you know, and I think it's just when you're older, you understand that your partner may not be the Barbie doll or the Ken. And you know, it's not going to happen. I mean, women, they have babies. Men, they get wrinkly. It's just a fact of life. So you need to appreciate, you got to look at the beauty inside, not just on the outside at that point, you know? And when you're younger and you're like going into college, it's like, it's a different mindset. But when you're an adult and you're older and you've got years under your belt, then you see things in different eyes at that point.
And I know that you have brought up like children. I don't say anything negative about my body or the way I look in front of my kids because I don't want them to ever struggle the way that I struggle. And with my daughter particularly, I always tell, like, you know, I try and do affirmations with her all the time. And I always say, who's the prettiest girl in the whole wide world? You. Like, who's the smartest girl in the whole wide world? You. I'm like, who's the kindest girl in the whole wide world? You are, you know, because I want her to have that strong image of herself.
Mm-hmm.
Lydia, can
Beautiful.
you call me every morning and also do those affirmations?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love Lydia that you are doing those affirmations for your daughter and that she's not hearing you say negative things about your body. That's like so important because yeah, she's listening to the words that you say. And are you open to the next level of that? Would you like to have one other thing you could do to just guarantee more that she's going to really love her body too?
Mhm.
And you probably know this, we all know this, is sometimes it's not just what we say, it's how we be, right? How we are. I'm sure we've all had this. I know I've had this experience. You probably all have. It's one person, our energy when we walk into the room can either lift up the room or bring it down, right? So how we feel about our bodies is also what we're emanating, right? What we're teaching our children. So the more that each of us can love our own bodies, and same for you, Lydia, that's actually a gift. That when you can feel that love for your own body, that's a gift that we're giving to our children. When we can, if I'm going to be really bold, and a big part of it is we live in a culture that has a lot of taboo around nakedness as well. And I was reading an article by, I don't remember the name, he's the founder of Body Talk, and he talked about nakedness, and he talked about how there's kind of a thread to back to, if you'd be patient with me for this, where I'm leading with this. But on our bodies we have what's called Wei Qi, which is it's like, it's not the aura, but it's like right against our body, almost like a millimeter from our body. This kind of envelops our body. And our Wei Qi, when we're naked, we actually strengthen our Wei Qi in our body. We strengthen our immune system. And he had couples, there's a couple things with this. He had couples that were struggling with their sexuality. The only thing that he had them do to start was to actually just be naked together, like hang out naked together, eat lunch together, eat breakfast, be together naked, and like talk to each other. And my cultural heritage is Finnish. We call it sauna, going naked in the sauna. That's what I grew up with. And so when we can be comfortable in our own nakedness without judgment, that's what we're also transmitting to our children, that nakedness is healthy and nakedness is normal. And when we can love our naked bodies, no matter what they look like, and we can talk to our naked bodies and appreciate them, if maybe we're not ready to say it's our body's beautiful, but if we can see parts of it that are beautiful, and appreciate that you birthed your children, right? That you, like, I'm grateful to my belly, even though I've got scars down below. I'm grateful that I birthed my babies, and so those scars can remind me of that experience, right? And parts of my body are not the same since I had children, but I can be grateful to those parts of my body because they've allowed me to have my sons, right, that are now adults. But back to the nakedness, when we wear synthetic clothing, in particular, when we wear bras that are synthetic, when we wear underwear, that actually blocks the Wei Qi in our bodies. It blocks the life force energy that keeps us healthy and contributes to things, circling back to, like erectile dysfunction, desire, all the things that Savannah and Carrie were talking about. Our nakedness actually contributes to all of that as well, right? Being comfortable naked with our bodies and having a happy and healthy immune system, a happy and healthy body. So literally wearing more natural fabrics, making sure we have time every day to be naked, is going to contribute to our mental health, how we feel about our bodies, our emotional health, our physical health as well. So we live in a culture that has a lot of shame around nakedness, right? So that can even just be a beginning point. And part of it, circling back to communication with a partner, right? If we can I had one couple that if they had an argument, they would sit together naked, and they would talk from that place of nakedness. And that when you're naked and you're not wearing, people aren't wearing their brand name clothing or whatever, you're stripped down to just your essence, right? And so there is a huge vulnerability with it. And there's also a huge possibility for communication with unveiled, dropping all of the facades that we have that goes with what we put on the outside that often become shields. So that was, I know, a lot of information, but hopefully that makes some sense.
Well, there's a TV show called Naked and Afraid.
I heard about that. I haven't seen it yet.
You know, that couple who talks naked when they get in arguments, they might be onto something, because like I think it might be pretty impossible to be mad at your partner, like to argue. I don't think I could see myself like arguing with my partner if we were both sitting there naked. Like it wouldn't matter anymore.
You'd be putting your shirt on. You'd be
Whatever it was,
putting your
it's fine.
pants on. I'm like, no, I can't sit like that. Yeah. Totally get. I put some links in the chat here. Vario's got a free gift. You want to tell everybody about it?
Yeah, so it's called a Shame Buster Guide. This is what's helped me over the last 7 years and the women in my program and their families, so their children and their partners, to dissolve some of the beliefs. So it's literally a 13-page document where I walk you through the steps that helped me to bust through the shame so that I can stand buck naked in front of the mirror and love my body. And Cassie, was in our pleasure program, that was one of the big tools that helped her. So it's literally like me holding your hand. We go from the negative self-talk, you get to get it out, get that negative self-talk that comes when you do look at your body, and then move you towards literally like I'm holding your hand step by step, walking you through forgiving yourself, walking through giving yourself permission and choosing to see your body rather than seeing it as something negative and having this negative self-talk, but moving yourself towards seeing your body as healthy, perhaps eventually sacred, and at least accepting it as it is, accepting it for what it gives you with gratitude. So I promise you that it will take you from wherever you are right now to, even if it's just one step towards seeing your body a little bit differently, and
Right.
eventually working with it, it's going to take you towards hopefully having some more body acceptance, and then maybe eventually towards being able to accept your body naked in front of the mirror, which is then going to help you in a partnership, because if you can have that communication with a partner and feel comfortable with in your own skin, in your own naked body, then now you can share that with another if that's your choice. So that's my gift to you, and that's been a labor of love that I've put together over the last 7 years that first helped me and has helped me help hundreds of women to dissolve shame,
Yeah.
body image shame. So I just wanted to give that to key people, because I can't work with everybody on the planet, but I can at least give them that gift so they can get started. Yeah, and if they want more, then they at least know where to find me as well. So, but
Yeah.
it's a great place to get started, because I think shame, back to what Savannah was saying too, right? Our brain
Yeah.
is the biggest sexual organ, and it's usually shame that stops us. That's the first thing that stops us.
Yeah.
She also did mention in the chat that a good way to ease yourself into the nakedness thing would be to sleep naked.
Yeah, and actually, absolutely, Crystal. And when we sleep naked, we're literally contribute to the health and vitality and longevity of our body. So please, if you are going to wear pajamas, at least wear natural fabric. And if you're going to wear the lingerie, just wear it for a short bit for the arousal. But don't wear it to bed to sleep, because it's literally blocking the Wei Qi. It's blocking the life force energy, your sexual life force energy in your body. And make sure you've got natural sheets like bamboo, cotton, silk. But yeah, sleeping naked. Yes, Crystal, the best way to start.
I would love to
Sure.
take credit for that, but that was totally Savannah in the chat.
All right, awesome. Thanks, Savannah, for that piece in there. Yes, for
Yeah,
sure.
she's
That's
hanging out in the
my
green room.
my
still.
Rugrat pajama pants I have on right now are no go.
Are they synthetic?
I have no idea. I got them from Walmart, so probably.
Check them out. Because yeah, it literally blocks the energy flow. And here's the thing, that when our sexual life force energy is flowing through the chakras, the lower chakras are blocked, right? When we have synthetic fabrics against our body. And I mean, let's circle it back to, sin and religion and all of that, right? So as women in particular, but men too, the best way to keep us disempowered and manipulate us is to shut down our sexual life force energy, right? So if you go to the stores right now, most of the clothing is synthetic. So it's literally shutting down women's bodies. It's shutting down men's bodies. It's even worse for women. I think there's even more synthetic clothing. So when we can have our life force energy moving through our bodies, which is why we're all here and alive, right? We're all here because of sex, but sexual life force energy is the most powerful, potent energy on the planet, which is why so many companies use it to sell in a manipulative way. But if we can give ourselves access to have that nakedness and only wear natural fabrics and ditch the bra, or at least ditch it when you get home, or have a natural fabric, we're going to reduce the risk of breast cancer as well, right? Because there's a book called Younger Next Year. There's one for men and one for women. And he says that 70% of dis-ease is because of stagnant energy. So stagnant chi, because we're not moving our bodies, we're sitting too long. I was trying to stand up during when I was in the green room, stand in between the sessions. And then another piece is to have our life force energy moving. So the life force, the chi in our body is literally moving more when we're naked and when we're wearing natural fabrics. When we wear synthetic fabrics, it shuts down our bodies, which makes us sick, makes us have dis-ease and sick. And then we're more easily manipulated. So
Yeah.
a great place to start. Get naked, wear natural fabrics.
All right, Virio Curve. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Lydia. You want to, or was that Crystal that wanted to jump in? Oh, okay. All right, no problem. So, Virio, I do appreciate you taking time and joining with us. Thanks for hanging out in the green room for a while, but I'm sure you got some really interesting conversations that you were listening to or watching. But yeah, it's a topic I think that is really important, and I think we've kind of geared off in some of the different extensions here in the conversation. We got off path, but we got on path. But that's
A little
the show.
sidetracked there for a minute.
Yeah, we always get sidetracked or side blinded sometimes. So
Blindsided.
blindsided, yes, that's what I meant to say. So, Virio, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
My pleasure.
Yes,
thank you
thank
so
you.
much for being
Thank
willing to be
you.
brave and have the conversation in this often taboo subject. Thank you so much. A pleasure.
All right, you take care now. We lost Megan in
Yeah.
I think her computer died. So she hasn't even messaged me and said what was up, but last time this happened, her computer died.
Safe bet.
Yes, safe bet. Well, this was a longer show than normal. There was a lot of great conversations. So I know that Megan wanted to wait till the end, but let me ask you, each of you, if there are sexual challenges in a relationship, are they a deal breaker, or do you think you can work through them?
I'd say it's not a deal breaker. It's definitely something that if you wanted to, like, you'll find a way, like you'll work through it. Like we had how many different sexperts on tonight that giving us all that great advice. So like there's help out there. So I say
Absolutely.
it's not a deal breaker.
Okay.
So,
Lydia?
I say it's a roadblock too, because I think if you truly love someone, you're willing to work around it.
true story.
And Crystal talked about how 7% haven't had sex in a year, and then 4% is 5, but they're still together. So it goes to show that relationships are more than just in the bedroom.
Very true.
Very true. Yeah. So, I agree. It's a roadblock. It's all about communication in the relationship. If you don't have any communication, then yeah, it's going to be a deal breaker. But if you guys can communicate with each other and understand and figure out your creativity and how to, make the bedroom more exciting for you as a couple and get past that hurdle, you're going to succeed in your relationship. So I would definitely say roadblock, but deal breaker if you guys can't communicate.
I think Meg would be on the same page as all of us. Safe to say.
Safe to say, yeah. Alrighty, I definitely appreciate our 3 guests joining us today. Corey, Savannah, and Virio. And as always, ladies, it's always great doing this show with you every Monday night.
Why, thank you.
You're so welcome. So we'll be back next week. We'll have another new episode, another new topic, and we definitely have stuff to talk about. So
yeah, come back for that little tidbit of information, because I gotta wait for Meg to be here to give it to you guys. I can't.
Oh,
gotta wait now.
Now Lydia's here, and you can't give us because Megan's gone.
Lydia, last time you weren't here, so I couldn't say it. Now Meg's not here, so I still can't say it. It's going to be a good one, though. I promise.
All right. Next week.
Next week.
All right, guys. Y'all have a great night. Thank you for watching and thank you for listening. And you can watch us live on Facebook and YouTube and restream on wherever you get your podcasts. Have a good night.